I intended to sit here and make a completely different video from the one I'm about to make. I really thought I was gonna sit here and tell Prince Harry to shut up. But after watching the 60 Minutes interview with Anderson Cooper, and after reading some extended excerpts from the book, I'm changing my position. Well, I'll say this much. I haven't read the book. I am sure the book is way more nuanced and less scandalous than it's being portrayed by the media. I've talked about this in previous videos, how I understand why Harry and Meghan have to be out there talking, why they have to be giving these interviews, the podcasts, the documentary, the books. I know Meghan is coming up with a book of her own. I just know it. And so I understand why all of this is happening. And I assumed at the time that the only reason why they feel compelled to be doing all this talking is because they need income. They need income. Their lives are going to be very expensive moving forward if they're going to be paying for their own security. And I explained in I think it was my last video on them, that they're not just hiring just regular security. This has to be very specific security. This has to be extensive, and therefore it's going to be very expensive. So they need to milk this so they can pay for this security that's basically just keeping them and their children alive. But after watching the 60 Minutes interview, I understand that this is about controlling the narrative. The royal family is leaking stories. We have already established this. We're not going to argue this. This has already been proven. The British royal family will continue to push their story, their narrative of events forever. And unless there is a counter argument from Harry and Meghan coming directly from them, the public is going to continue believing that, Meghan is the worst thing that has ever happened, and that Harry is just her hapless victim that has no choice but to go along with her evil plans. So I understand that in addition to making money from this, they are out here telling their stories, and they're doing it the right way. See, the royal family, they're snipers shooting from the side, whereas Harry and Meghan, they got that Kalashnikov right in your face. And a lot of us respect that a lot better than the whisper campaign that the royal family has been engaging in. At the same time, it still feels as if there is a sort of disorganization. Harry and Meghan had to have known that some of the more intimate details that he's sharing in his book were going to be latched on to by the press and blasted out there as if this is a frivolous, gossipy book. And look at what he's talking about losing his virginity and how, they took the pregnancy tests and they put it next to a lock of Diana's hair. And this is so weird. And I really think that Harry thought that when people read those little passages, they would go, "Aww." But the reality is that right now we're just going, ugh. Because it feels like it's too much information. And listen, Harry's not the first celebrity to write a book that has lots of intimate information about themselves. But Harry's a different kind of celebrity. He is royalty. And even though, yes, he has stepped back from his duties and he's no longer an official member of the working royal family, we still expect a certain decorum coming from him. And some of these details don't lend themselves to that. And part of having a smart PR strategy is knowing exactly what you want to accomplish at the end of whatever blitz that you put out there. You have to set a goal that says, when I'm done with this crusade or this campaign or this tour of information, what do I expect the effect to be in the public? What is the end goal of all of this talking? Do I want to raise my social standing? Do I want to gain the goodwill that I lost when all these lies were put out there about me? Do I want to make the royal family look bad? What was the end goal? And it would be interesting to see when the book finally comes out, because apparently the Spanish version that came out early, it was an accident. There are no accidents. There are no accidents when we're dealing with a powerful institution like the British royal family. That book was leaked on purpose. Harry's interviews were coming out. The interviews were supposed to precede the book so that he could set the tone of this is what you're going to find in the book. And the fact that the Spanish version of the book accidentally came out 1 or 2 days before the first interview, and the press was able to grab these sensational little headlines and blast them ahead of these interviews coming up, that was not an accident. Trust me. No accident. But when the book finally comes out and the public gets to read the whole thing, it will be interesting to see if Meghan and Harry can sit back after this and go, mission accomplished. We did exactly what we set out to do. But the early release of a version of the book is something that I wish Harry and his team could have predicted ahead of the writing and the publishing of the book. See, my number one issue with the way Harry and Meghan have been moving is that I believe that the team that they have around them, the PR people, their managers, their agents, it should operate when you're dealing with somebody or something as powerful as the British royal family. You have to have a war room where you can sit down and you can predict and prognosticate and prepare ahead of time, where you can play out different scenarios, the craziest scenarios, play them out, watch what's happening, take a look at what could happen, what are the crazy occurrences that could take place, and come up with a strategy that you can use to mitigate that situation. That's what I hoped that Harry and Meghan had. Clearly they don't. There's some details that were released in the book that really just shouldn't. You don't even have to be a member of the royal family. You just have to be somebody who's liked and respected to know that there's some things you don't want to do to tarnish your image, because your image is your wallet. Your image is your moneymaker. And anytime you tarnish that, or you reduce it, or you bring it down a couple pegs from the pedestal where the public has placed you, you're losing money. Remember Will? Remember that book? And how people were like, oh my God, why are you telling us all of this? We didn't want to know this. But this stuff came out. And now, between that and the slap, Will Smith will never be the same. We're never going to look at him like we used to. And Harry needs all the goodwill he can hold on to. He's bucking his head against a masterful, destructive machine in the form of the amalgamation between the British royal family and the British press. So you can't come at them with a simple, I'm just gonna speak my truth. You need to come better than that. You need to have a whole team. You need to have an army around you, making sure that you don't miss when you shoot. I'm going to wait until the book comes out. I intend to read the book. And I say this because one of the things that had come out in the excerpts that were picked apart by the media was the fact that he named the exact number of people he killed in the war. And I just remember thinking, why would he even say this? Why would he say this? And a friend of mine, Eddie Hippolyte, I'm going to put his Instagram handle on my screen. He made a very, very insightful post when he said, there's a difference between telling your story and telling your business. And there is a difference between the two. They are not the same. I completely agreed with what he said. There's one thing when you want to tell a story of who you are and what you're about. But when you start giving exact details that are really none of the public's business, that really doesn't help validate your story in any way. It just cheapens it. You have to know the difference between the two. However, I read an excerpt. Somebody posted a longer excerpt of the actual quote where he says the number of Taliban people that he killed. And when I read the entire excerpt, I was surprised at how nuanced and deep and insightful and revealing the entire quote was. And then I understood why he had to name the number. Because in that quote, in the extended quote, Harry talks about the fact that as a soldier, you are raised or you are trained to see the enemy not as people, but as things that need to be eliminated and taken out, as almost non-human entities. And that mentality gives you the strength to go ahead and actually take lives. And I think that when he actually mentioned the number, it was a way of acknowledging these were lives. Yes, these were our enemies. They were members of the Taliban who would have otherwise killed us. Again, the fact that he explained how he had to be numbed to this and how he had to almost reduce his own humanity to engage in killing of people by saying the exact number that he believes of enemy combatants that he killed. I think that was a way of saying these were 25 lives. 25 families lost someone they loved. Even though, yes, they were my enemy, I want you to know that war is not a game. It's not a video game. Actual lives are lost. People die. And I killed people. I think it was deeper. And if the entire quote had been released, I don't know how many people would have still had a problem with it. In fact, when I was reading the comments under the tweet, there was a barrage of people saying, oh my goodness, now that I've read the whole thing, I understand what he meant. He wasn't bragging about killing people. He was actually giving context to these lives that were lost. But of course, the media is not going to release the whole thing because there was an agenda to cheapen the book, to make it look like a mistake, that it was meant to embarrass the British family, the royal family, that it was meant to brag about certain things. And I don't know, I think that when the book comes out, we might get a different sense of what he was trying to say. So I'm going to wait until I read the book, and then I'm going to come back and tell you if I really think that he overstepped. And I'll be back to tell you my thoughts. But until then, thank you so much for watching my video. If you'd like to see and hear more from me, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you join our little growing family. If you liked what I had to say in the video, please leave a like. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Leave a comment. Let me know. Did you see the 60 Minutes interview or any of the other interviews he has been doing? Do you think he's doing too much? Are you gonna read the book? I know I am. So let's talk. Let's have a discussion. Share this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it, and I will see you in the next one.